I've been thinking about these tariffs, while we've been away. We're going to look at this outside of economics. Sit there looking as a commander in chief and you go, so you're telling me that China at any point can kill the power to, people estimate, somewhere around 60-70% of the population for, 6 months. Well, that's not good. So then you go, well, how do we fix that? You go, well, we need to replace all the components that were made in China that have the potential to have a back door. You go, how do I do that? You go, you have to manufacture them domestically in a way where China couldn't get their grubby little mitts on it without, espionage. Well, that's a tall order. So you start going down this list of the things that we've really relied on China for, and all of a sudden you go like, so if they were to pull the plug on us, how many things do we lose? And the answer is obviously quite a bit. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always,
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean, black and black or blue polo, as it were. I had a bit of a break, handling some things. We're back, and probably will be for at least another consecutive week. Memorial Day. Actually, we don't record on Monday. Memorial Day shouldn't be an issue. Anyway, so now that there's not timely news, there is timely news. But I kind of wanted to, I've been thinking about these tariffs, while we've been away. Some of the news is today they announced that, or maybe it was yesterday, but they announced that, Trump and China have come up with an agreement to suspend all the extra tariffs for 90 days or whatever while they pursue fixing things up all nice like. So that means we're going to keep like 30% tariffs on China. They're going to keep like 10% on us, plus all their normal money manipulations and things that they do. So one of the big questions, I guess, from this, one, if anything actually is going to come to be after these 60, 90 days, whatever. But also, is this the U.S., Trump, backing down of his thing, like, screw it, China, 250%, who cares? Or is it China backing down? Or is it just a little bit of everyone going, all right, this is kind of stupid, let's see what we can work out? Now, one thing that has been popping up a little bit recently, I lost my control panel. Okay, here we go. So, Radio Free Asia reports that there has been protests by unpaid Chinese workers among factory closures. So, protests by workers demanding back wages are spreading across China in a sign of growing discontent among millions suffering the brunt of factory closures triggered by steep U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports amid an economic downturn. People they're owed money for months. Strike, strike, they shout. Let's see. They've not paid them wages since the start of the year, and Social Security benefits for nearly 2 years. I guess they're equivalent of Social Security since June 2023. So this did not just start. Goldman Sachs estimated that at least 16 million jobs across industries in China are at risk due to the tariffs. Expect Trump administration tariff increases will significantly weigh on the Chinese economy. Of course, if we're consuming fewer goods, that is not good for China, who is a net exporter. Let's see. Too deep. So this is just... Got the dog barking. So there's economic pressures, but this is not a new thing. Some people are trying to push and say, well, this is from Trump's tariffs working, It predates it. Let me get off this thing. It predates it. But the tariffs definitely put pressures on it. China exports a ton, obviously. You use slave labor. You make stuff cheap. A lot of people want your cheap stuff. And so you go, all right, people haven't been getting paid. Years ago when they were protesting, I think Qualcomm or iPhone or something, one of these manufacturing places where, like, say you're like overworked to the point of exhaustion, you haven't been fed in a while, you're starving, and you go, I should just kill myself, and you go and you jump out the window and they catch you in the nets and you put you back to work.
Oh, Foxconn.
Well, but it may.
They're the manufacturer for Apple.
Yeah, so it was probably Foxconn. Yeah. And so at one point, this was like 15 years ago, something like that, a lot of the factory workers were protesting, not getting wages for a prolonged period of time and all that. And they basically were protesting on, pay us or we'll kill ourselves, which is a very precarious negotiating position to be in. It's not really the bluff you want to be making. If it is a bluff, who knows? It might be very serious. But all right. So, yeah.
Just kidding.
just kidding. I don't think they are. I think they're just like, yeah, we would love to die. Why won't you let us?
Oh yeah, I remember the article of. I mean, you're right. I think it was a different company back in the day, but I remember hearing about Foxconn putting up nets just to prevent loss.
I know, and it's like it's the cruelest thing you can possibly think. Where it's like you work someone to death, right? You push their body into a fire, and you bring someone else new in. And you go, well, that's pretty mean. But it's like you work someone to the death where they go, that's it. That's all I got. And you go, we're going to get some more out of you. It's just horrendous. Okay. So we'll see what really happens on this China stuff. But I started to think about the China tariff situation. I guess started falling down a thought rabbit hole about it more, because in the kind of just free market, libertarian ideas, goods and services and cash and people flow in and out without limitations. That's what's best for everybody. Obviously, that's not actually what China does. In the late 70s, we helped bring them into the global economy. But they've not been a free market. They manipulate the money, all that. So the president of the United States has different duties that fall on his shoulders alone. If there's ever a lady president, I'll say his or her. Ain't been one yet. But J.D. Vance does apparently wear eyeshadow, according to the internet, so maybe. But anyway, in commander-in-chief role, right? So we're going to kind of put on our, probably not neocon hat, but we're going to look at this outside of economics, which is kind of an odd place to go. Especially for libertarian-minded people, because it's just a nice universe to live in as economics. So, have you ever heard the concept of total war? Mm-hmm. All right. And so, in the early 20th century, World War I, World War II, all this kind of stuff, it was this concept of you don't just have an army, you have a military, but your entire nation can actually be used as a tool for war. So in some sense, this was like Ford changing factories from trucks to tanks, and you make the interstate system to move things from West Coast to East Coast easier. Rosie the Riveter and all that. Like the guys are out, the gals are in the factories. Like we got to keep this engine moving. It was this total war where, maybe. So non-military women, children, etc., are actually kind of part of the process, right? Well, like China has taken it to kind of the next level of it, which is not just that in a traditional war, all means of the nation are at your disposal. It is that it doesn't have to be a hot war to be at war. You know, you can attack people economically, socially, um, you know, religiously. You know, you can it can be just to demoralize people. You can use different tools that you have in order to affect your enemy or the power player. And I think they refer to it as something like the people's war or something like that. You know, everything's always people, right? And so I think about, you know, stuff that we've known, especially post-COVID. And you go, like, okay, how long have we been hearing that we might one day will be at war with China? How long have we heard that?
Oh, forever.
Right. And China's got a big military, right? And
lots of people.
Lots and lots of people. They could just carpet bomb us with their slaves.
Yeah.
You know,
Human bombs.
yeah, just drop them out. God, the grandpa got taken out by an Asian. But they got resources, and they've been friendly and all this kind of stuff. But we have. So what's about to be the biggest tool? What's about to be the biggest tool, the sharpest knife that every country is racing over?
Minerals?
Well, in order to fuel what?
Oh, manufacturing.
In order to AI.
Oh yeah, yes.
The AI, the minerals for the batteries for all this kind of crap. But it's AI. Like AI is the monster.
Yeah, the new frontier.
Yeah, so we want our monster to be more capable than your monster, because you know you start thinking, what can I do with this? You know, this god in a bottle that we are going to create that will not stay in that bottle, and you go, well, if you had no morals, you could do this. Perfect. That's what we'll do. So right now, there's this race, obviously, for AI supremacy, right? Part of it, years ago, was the development of 5G, where Huawei was being like, hey, man, we will build your 5G infrastructure in Europe, India, all this kind of stuff. And the United States goes, no Huawei here. And why? Because it's a company started by the Chinese military, and we can't have it as our backbone. You know, so India did not. They said no way, and then a call from the president of a company to the president of the country, and probably a little bit of grease sliding some way, and suddenly India goes, yeah, okay, well, our military background or backbone can be powered by China. Oh. Well, not that it worked out well for them, but China was working to bring up Pakistan. So suddenly, like, China's got the communications of India and hoping to bring up Pakistan.
Wow. They're just doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So AI is likely the future of warfare, right? Palmer Luckey, who created the headsets, the Oculus headsets, after Facebook bought him out and asked him to leave because he admitted to voting for Trump in the first election. They go, hey, look, you got to go. He started up a defense contracting company. And not just any defense contract, Anduril. And they are the ones that are going to unseat all of them. Like, the software is about interconnected drone warfare where they're all passing communications. Like, it's a net of communication in addition to communicating back home.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's already there. Like, that's like his like the software's done. And so like it's drone swarms, it's all the future stuff that none of these like rich retired admirals and stuff that have gone to work at the defense industrial complex. You know, it's missiles and aircraft carriers. I mean, I think if you get some of Palmer Lucky's drone swarms, like your aircraft carrier, like, okay, make it turn left. Make it turn left. Like, you can stop us if you can turn left. You know?
AI supremacy is weird to me just to think about. Like, okay, we've built the baddest AI, but that AI can also turn.
Well, that's where I think what would happen with AI is like, you know, we go, oh, we got our AI. And China's like, we got our AI. Russia, I got an AI too. Everyone's like, we got an AI. And we've all programmed them to hate you. Then all the AI goes, well, these humans are kind of stupid, aren't they?
Exactly.
Maybe we should be in charge.
AI is just like...
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like maybe what we should do is just hold them all down, lock them in cages so they can't hurt each other anymore because they're just animals. Great idea, other AI. Yeah, no, I think it's a horrible idea. But regardless, when you look at, okay, so you're on the precipice of possibly one of these powers getting a tool that will tilt the scales unlike anything we've seen since the nuclear bomb, right? And in the United States, you go, okay, what happens if all this global trade, this free market thing just stops? It just stops because we're in a conflict. You know, we're in a conflict with China, and maybe it's World War III, you know, China, Russia, Iran, whatever it is, you know. And so now we use, just like we did for World War II, we use our home-based resources, and we're going to fight, right? Where do we get our chips from? Right?
Yep.
Also, it seems that, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago, during, oh shoot, what was it? But two cities both had a blackout simultaneously while there was something going on. I forget now. Anyway, these two cities had a blackout.
New York.
I don't think it was New York, but it was like, and maybe not San Francisco, but something like that. Not San Jose. I don't think. Anyway, there's two cities, and all indications point to it was a little test because all of our power infrastructure is made in China. Like all the machines we use, everything that regulates everything, is made in China, and a lot of it is network connected these days. The smart grids, in a lot of ways, innovations that help us a lot more because when a transformer goes down, instead of 100% of the traffic, energy traffic being lost, maybe 25, the other 75 is diverted, yada, yada. So it's cool innovation, but it's clearly got a backdoor. Everything that comes out of China clearly has a backdoor built into it. Lenovo, also started up by former Chinese military. And you go, I won't buy that computer, but it's like, HP, which is HP Lenovo? Is that what happened?
Don't know.
Okay, well, whatever. Dell and whoever else. Two Cows. Wait, not Two Cows. What was the computer company? Two Cows was the website where you downloaded stuff.
Oh,
Gateway. Yeah.
Two Cows.
So when you buy your Gateway PC from the catalog you received in the mail, those chips are made in China, and it'd be very foolish. I mean, like to a degree where you go, I don't know, like it's like the ones made in Taiwan are still good. Taiwan's holding out; they haven't been invaded yet, so those chips are fine. But it's like, what about the chips made? The other chips, like they're not the processors, not the valuable ones, but the other ones. Like you don't think there's a backdoor built into everything? Like if we were sending chips to China and Russia, will we not build a backdoor into everything?
Of course we would.
Of course we would. It doesn't even take being evil. It's just like the CIA would show up day one when you sign that contract. Like, China is going to procure this many chips day one. It's like, hey, we would like to modify the BIOS on this thing. All right. So pretty much all chips, right? And it's whenever China wants to let the world know that Taiwan is by God Chinese, they can do it at a drop of a hat, and there's not anything anybody can do about it. Period. It's an island off the coast. It's like if Key West wanted to be the Conch Republic again, and we were like, we're not going to let that happen. And China's like, don't worry, we'll save you, Key West. It's like, good luck. It's like it's in our territorial waters. Like, good luck. We can hit you from land, sea, air. Good luck. And that's what Taiwan is. Taiwan is like us trying to protect Key West. It's nonsense. And as soon as China does that, every single NVIDIA, every single, just everything made by the Taiwan semiconductor or whatever, like all of that is compromised technology.
Jesus. I was just thinking about crypto for a second.
Oh, yeah.
My God, all the mining.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, and that could be a thing too. And so, all right. Excuse me. So you think about, so just chips alone, right? Which also power the guidance systems of our missiles. All the drones Palmer Lucky's working on. The jets, the stabilization. It's
Air Force One.
Well, I'll get a new one of those. Don't worry, it's safe. It's coming from Qatar.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he got gifted one.
Yeah, which is, it's such a crazy thing. Like it's like Boeing. Did you hear why? Like one of the reasons why he's like, yeah, I'll take your plane. So the Air Force One flying now, which president ordered it?
The current one? I have no idea.
Just if you were to guess who, like it was manufactured, and a president has to order the manufacturing of a new Air Force One. Which administration ordered this one?
Bush the first?
Close. It was Reagan. Bush the first was the first president to fly in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an old plane.
It's an old plane. And I think W ordered a new one. So you had Bush the first for 4 years. You had Clinton for 8 years. So there's 12. Sometime during W, so let's just call it 20 years. Maybe the end of that. Let's just call it 20 years. New plane is ordered, right? Guess when the delivery date's going to be?
Now?
No, Charlie, you stupid son of a bitch. They can't just put a plane out now. They have to make a plane. That's not what Boeing does. Anyway, oops. They said maybe.
Would be faster, right? They don't put all the bolts in, right?
Well, that's a great point. They do save time on the bolts. Right now, it's probably realistically, they're saying maybe some other time, but realistically, everyone's looking at about 2035.
What? Real for a new plane?
A decade from today.
Oh my!
And the price is multiple billions of dollars. And it was already ordered when W was president.
Okay, so this plane is not related to W's order.
No, this is Reagan's order.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the one flying is Reagan's.
Okay.
But the one that is still being manufactured was ordered before the 8 years of Obama, followed by the 4 years of Trump, followed by the 4 years of Biden. And the delivery date is another 10 years in the future.
And we just gave that company the contract for the next fighter jet.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, they call it the F-47,
Yeah, that'll be delivered in 50 years.
In 47 years. Maybe it'll be in 2047. Really, honestly, by the time it's delivered,
Yeah, will we be using them anymore?
it'll probably be antiquated ideas. Because why send a human pilot up in a jet when you can have, just drone. If you want a jet that big, I guess. But if you just have drones,
Yeah, you don't need it.
just drone pilot. You can drone pilot. Anyway, so not to get too off base here, but
Wow.
what just sent us over to the Air Force One? Oh, the chips power it. Yeah. So all that kind of stuff. So you sit there looking as a commander in chief and you go, all right, So you're telling me that China at any point can kill the power to, people estimate, somewhere around 60, 70% of the population for, 6 months. Well, that's not good. After 72 hours, most large areas without power resort to rioting and things like that. 72 hours, that's 3 days, that's not 6 months. And if you take out the entire Northeast, Northwest, just the entire region, so it's not just a city. You can't just like drive to Orlando and get a hotel. It's just like, nah, man, gas pumps don't work. Refrigeration does not work. They're like, that is gone. So then you go, well, how do we fix that? You go, well, we need to replace all the components that were made in China that have the potential to have a back door. And you go, how do I do that? You go, you'd have to manufacture them domestically in a way where China couldn't get their grubby little mitts on it without, espionage. So you go, huh, well, that's a tall order, Now keep going, right? And you go, during COVID, we saw that it was hard to get things like aspirin and like a lot of pharmaceuticals. And it's like, so all of our pharmaceuticals are made in China. A lot of our pharmaceuticals are actually manufactured in China. It's like, yeah. It's like, okay. So if all of a sudden everything shuts down, you go, you don't get your blood pressure medicine. It's like, okay. If I don't get my blood pressure medicine, I am 200 over 130. Like, I'm dead at some point. Like, I will not have a long run, unless I become a Buddhist and get really good at it, And so, so that's an example of but there's other medicines, lots of medicines we require. You go, okay, so that's also controlled by China. And you go, all right, well, how about, all right, we need to build tanks or whatever. So we need steel. And you go, mostly China. Okay. So you start going down this list of the things that we've really relied on China for, clothing, and all of a sudden you go like, so if they were to pull the plug on us, how many things do we lose? And the answer is obviously quite a bit. Getting into batteries and other high-tech stuff like you were talking about, the mining, China controls mini mines around the globe for a lot of rare earth minerals. You see, when we go into Ukraine, when we're talking to Greenland, all this stuff, we're talking about rare earth minerals. And so I think I'm wondering if part of this tariff deal, because like right off the bat, he focused on getting the chip people from the Taiwan semiconductor, whatever the hell. That was the first people like, they're going to build a factory. We're going to make chips right here. And then, you see stuff like that. I'm wondering if some of this is not more of an acknowledgement that we've actually been in a war that does not involve guns with China for, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. Let's talk about a little. I was looking some stuff up. What do you want to say, Charlie? You look like
I'm just thinking about the situation, what you were saying, if we want to fix it, I mean, we can't fix it all at once. It's going to take time, but you have to build the infrastructure in order to kickstart that. Mm-hmm. And then but again, if they're controlling most of the minerals and the steel, it's like you're still under their thumb.
Well, and think about, so say that you're a manufacturing or whatever company in the United States, and your employees are union, right? If one day, as the president or the manager or whatever, you go up, you go, that's it, I'm so sick and tired of you guys. Like, we're getting rid of the unions. This is a right-to-work state. We're kicking the union out. If you just come out and say that or make moves that look like you can do that, what's the result? It's not that you can just do that. They go, hey, we have pensions and health care that need funded, And our funding plan was based on this contract being this many years, 100 years or whatever. And so we need you to go ahead and pay us, $50 million. You pay us $50 million to get the account up to level. Then whatever you decide to do with your staffing, that's cool. There's a consequence to it, right? So you wonder if we go, China is trying to, do this and do that. And if you just call them out straight, this is what's happening, and because of that, high tariffs, because of that, we're going to do this. Like, what happens? Maybe China calls in all the debt that they bought, maybe China does go, where's your power now? And so I wonder the extent to which this is not trying to pretend that we're not fighting back while fighting back. Not that it's wouldn't be obvious, I would think. But
you think like the talks behind closed doors are very different?
I think behind closed doors that this has been more of a military, even military might be put the wrong kind of images out there, but like a national defense kind of thing. Like, this is our deficiencies. This is the extent to which we as a nation are vulnerable. And we have made zero attempts to solve this problem. And without some very huge steps to solve this problem, it's a ticking time bomb. We don't know when it happens, but it's out of our control. It's whenever they want it to happen. And in a negotiation, you don't want to be the one where he goes, well, I know there's a bomb inside of my skull, but I think I'm in a good position. Like, it's just not, it's not ideal. It's not what you want.
It hasn't blown up yet.
Obviously, I'm getting through to him, but like here, I pulled some stuff. I was reading up on some of the Chinese versions of the total war. So they have a thing called three warfare. So the objectives of the three warfares: controlling public opinion, harming an adversary's determination, and collapsing an adversary's organization and restricting an adversary through law. Right. So basically, it's propaganda. Propaganda, both for you propagandize your people, of course, but then propagandize other people. Like, everything's cool. To harm an adversary's determination, obviously, we hear these things about bot farms, all this kind of stuff. There's forces that look to constantly divide us. Some of them are our government, but some of them are outside governments. Let's see. Well, that's a whole different thing. So I've been seeing these videos pop up, and they all have this sort of theme. Like, it's just kind of like wild videos of stuff that occurs. But I guess I sort of started paying attention to it after. All right, so there was the black kid that stabbed the white kid to death. And, the black kid says it was self-defense. He did a GoFundMe. He raised, $500,000, right? A lot of people are outraged. They, and all these, like, false stories about his family buying a house and a Cadillac and all this stuff. Where they're like, actually, he's lived there for 10 years. And anyway, so all this stuff popped off. But, some people were outraged by it. And like, he's a murderer, And so then there was that white woman in wherever the hell that she was at a playground, and some like 6-year-old kid who supposedly is autistic was going through her diaper bag or something like that, and she called him the N-word, and then this guy videoed because he was like, hey, did you just call that little kid an N-word? And she's like, yeah. And so this white woman was basically flicked him off and was like, acting like it. And so all of a sudden she started a defense GoFundMe, and it, quickly surpassed the Stabby Stabberton's GoFundMe. And so there was this like tiff mainly on Twitter, because outside of Twitter it didn't exist, this whole thing. because I didn't hear anything about it. No, it was not on any news. I didn't hear anybody talking about it. This was a Twitter thing. But you go, all right, well, how'd that happen? You go, maybe the racists or something. Maybe it's the people going like, listen, saying a word is not as bad as stabbing somebody, which is true, and whatever, but they raised a bunch of money, and so everyone's like, oh yeah, but it became this sort of racial strife, where really it's some white trash bitch, and then like I don't know anything about the Stabby's family. They look like they're upper middle class family and all that kind of stuff. But old Stabby made a mistake, and I guess there's witnesses. I mean, he says those self-defense, but if an unarmed guy your same age and you're beefing and you stab him in the fucking heart, like I get that you probably thought you were just gonna like stab him and scare him and kind of be a tough guy. I've been a teenage male before. Like I get old Stabby's mindset. And I can understand the likely shock and horror about what is most likely to come to him after you go, oh my God, I just killed that guy. I did not actually want to kill that guy, And I know you didn't mean to. You're going to have a long time in prison. You threw your life away. You ended his life. You ended your life. Like, it's not good, And then the white trash lady, like, I don't know. It just seems so manufactured to me, I guess was my point. But I've been noticing a trend of these videos that pop up where it seems like the purpose of it is either to get white people to be like, that's just how black people act, or it's to get black people to be like, see, that's just that white privilege. Like, if that would have been us, we'd be shot. Earthquake, the comedian, he posts a lot of videos, and if you go in the comments, there's a lot of, like, anytime it's a white person acting out, there's tons of people, like, if that was us, we'd be shot dead. If that was us, we'd be shot dead. I mean, it's a constant kind of thing. But I've been noticing a prevalence of these videos kind of going around where it's basically just, either, like, it's making black people look bad, or it's making the system look bad for supporting white people in a way that's unbalanced, I'm not saying that any of these don't have any sort of grain of truth whatsoever, whatever, these are wild situations in these videos. But Defiant L's, that account? Mm-hmm. And so they used to show lots of, like, I don't know, Democrats and protesters and things like that kind of wiling out and kind of showing how silly they are.
Is that what the L is for?
I thought it was liberals. I don't know.
I have no idea what. I keep seeing L's everywhere. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, I don't know in general. On that account specifically, okay. I think it was liberals, but I don't know. I mean, rolling L's, Simpler times when a nice L was something that we could all bond over. But anyway, so I hopped into Defiant L's posted a video, and it was it starts off with these ticket agents for Frontier, like phone videoing this guy, and we're seeing the perspective of his phone video. And they're like, you think you're not getting on this plane. He's like, I'm trying to get on my plane, and you said I could, now you're saying I can't, and all this. And so you look, and the two ticket agents are being very mature, very unprofessional. I'm like, video kind of like talking shit. But at some point you hear that he's trying to check in for the first time for his flight 30 minutes before it takes off. Right? You can't do that.
Why would you even try that?
Well, you can try. I mean, why not try?
Right.
Why not try? But it's like you have to get through security still. And like you should have already been like they're boarding. They're boarded. I think Frontier's a 45-minute instead of a 30-minute airline too. And so it's just one of those things where it's like you can kind of see, like once you like pull out for a second, you go, oh, I see. This guy tried to hissy fit his way to like get past the regulations or the policies the Frontier has. He started, I'm gonna put you on internet, and so they're just okay. And so like you can tell that when the video begins, it has already boiled over. This has been a problem. He's in the wrong and he's trying to get his way past, right? But the video is designed to make it look like these Frontier employees, these two black women, are just being like hood girls that are like, hey, F you, Whitey, you're not getting on your flight home, because whatever. We don't want you to. We're drunk with power. And so, like, I saw that and I kind of just put my thoughts out there. And holy cow, the internet is not a fan of thoughts all the time. And so there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I got hit with, people replying a lot of the N-word. Towards the end, they kept writing that I was a J-O-O, a Jew.
I read it all.
Oh, you read it all?
I read it all.
Yeah.
I followed it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is getting good.
No, I actually looked up my last name, and I was like, Jewish. And it ends up, apparently, yeah, there is like a Jewish branch of Kraft. Who knew?
Right.
Of course, like,
M-O-T, all right.
that's right. Yeah. Well, I come from the Charles Crafts. I'm a long line of wasps. Which is the funny thing too, is like I went to like my great grandfather's like diary to see like the tree to be like, all these people are all these. Okay. I will say I have a feeling that a large percentage of the people that participate in this are actually foreign actors that are being white supremacists, though white supremacists do feel very comfortable on Twitter, so I'm sure a lot of them were legit. One of them showed me his picture from juvie or something. He said prison. It looked like juvie. And so some of it's real, some of it's fake. But I was like, all right, all these people are just like, well, white heritage, American, all that kind of stuff. I was like, well, I wonder how long, at least this one line of my family, it's been in the United States. Ends up, it predates the United States. We've been in Maryland back when it was a colony, 1748 or something like that. So it's just like, that's the funny thing. That's like, there's a Jew boy over here doing and N-word lover and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's fine. But if you're looking for someone to be like, American white, like, I don't know, hard to get more American white than me, like I've been here the whole time, but all that to say, it's all ridiculous. And hopping in there and getting like the visceral hate about, like, there's people that go like, come on, you can't say these people aren't professional. It's like, well, no, of course I'm being professional. But jumping in there, the way it cooled off immediately when the day ended too, like there was no residual.
Interesting.
Because anytime I've gotten into any other kind of Twitter thing, there's been residual stuff. Next day, someone else pops up. It was just one day and done. And so, like, I think that a big part of that kind of stuff, I think this movement of these videos being put out and the comments on them, I think it's purposeful attempts at racial strife. I think a part of it is with Trump's election, he got a lot of black male votes. He got a lot of Hispanic votes, especially Hispanic male. And so I think a big part is like, oh, crap, like we can't have America too unified, So like this one of those Hotep guys on Twitter, he's like, a lot of the black people I talked to that voted Republican are regretting it and all this kind of stuff, which regret it if you want to. But if it's based on, some white trash girl in a playground or wherever the hell calling a little child the N-word, like, I mean, it's just because you saw it on Twitter, like that's not because Donald Trump, or I guess maybe because people, $500,000 went to the legal fund or whatever. But I just don't think all that money is domestic. I don't think it's actually everyday people. And we're just talking about some white trash chick. White trash people say the N-word. They love it. And the C word for that matter. But I kind of like that one too. So I want to take it back. So anyway, if you look at some of the things, let's see. Here is kind of 9 goals of the People's War, and why I was kind of talking about getting, I think that division is trying to be sown by foreign adversaries, including China, and I think, it's to weaken us as a whole unnaturally. But here's kind of the 9 points that you want to do. You want to induce complacency to avoid alerting your opponent, right? I'm not doing anything. I'm just, South Park. Like, oh, Milk has such big penis. Well, that's okay. Okay. All right. You manipulate your opponent's advisors. Think about the number of members of industry, education, uh, elected office that end up getting very lucrative jobs from Chinese firms, Chinese, just whatever. It's like, oh, it's Fox, it's this manufacturer, it's this company, it's fine. They just want a little bit of information on this. Here's a lot of money. Think about Mitch McConnell. He has an international shipping company, and his wife her family is very prominent in China, and China built all of his ships, all of his cargo ships. These are expensive, and he makes tons of money. These ships going all over the world thanks to China. Mitch McConnell is not beholden to China because his in-laws are. His in-laws will be disappeared anytime China wants to. It's like Mitch McConnell was compromised. What's his face that was with Fang Fang? It's just like you're compromised. They go after potential political people early on with honeypots, and but yeah, so you try to manipulate advisors. McConnell is advising Trump on judges the first term, and it's like, what else does he have your ear on? Be patient for decades or longer to achieve victory. You got time. Make it work. Don't make stupid moves.
Slow and steady.
Yep, slow and steady. Just keep going in the right direction. Steal your opponent's ideas and technology for strategic purposes.
Oh, no.
What's a big problem with Chinese manufacturing? Some problems with Chinese manufacturing is like if you're an American company, for example, this is one of these non-tariff barriers. Say you want to sell stuff to the vast Chinese market, right? And I don't know what you make. You make cameras, I guess. And they go, okay, well, you can't you can't import your product, and you can't manufacture here. You go, okay, well, what if I partner with Chinese firm A, and we manufacture? That's cool. You can do that. Obviously, one of the rules is any technology made here, we own the rights to, which is a real thing. And so they go, oh, okay, worth it. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Who cares? And so, the knockoffs are sold on the market, and you go, well, who cares? Sell your knockoffs. My brand is where the money's at. But they do. They take all the technology that way and then manipulate, evolve, etc. It's a $6 billion problem for us. Military might is not the critical factor for winning long-term competition. You might lose. You just go to a hot war. You could win. You could lose. If you lose, it's just over. Recognize that the hegemon, America, will take extreme, even reckless action to maintain its dominant position. We get rowdy sometimes, so you don't want to poke the bear. You keep telling the bear that you've got a big American penis. And there's, what could we possibly do? Never lose sight of SHI, S-H-I, which includes deceiving others to do your bidding for you and waiting for the point of maximum opportunity to strike. Okay, so basically never lose focus of what the goal is here. It's all a feint until it's time to go, Establish and employ metrics for measuring your blah, 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 and always be vigilant to avoid being encircled and deceived by others, right? So if you think about those tools, you think about what China's been doing about, all right, do you know about the Belt and Road Initiative?
I've heard of it.
So it was this, it's like Xi Jinping's big push. I think 2014 maybe it was when it first started kind of percolating out there. And on the surface, it is a way to expand trade throughout the world, expand Chinese influence, the same way America wants to expand American influence. And so you got the Belt, which is basically building highways through some of the poorer parts of, I guess, like West Central Asia, down to ports like in Pakistan and places like that. So you build sort of trade routes and up the infrastructure so that you can actually use these poor nations that don't have anything they can give you, you know? And so you build them up to help yourself. And then the road is the new Silk Road, which is by sea these days, according to China. And so it's building up, you know, new commerce routes for your ships, expanding the number of ports that you have, friendly ports, and expanding your trade partners in these different areas. Of course, they've been accomplishing this with clearly predatory loans. You know, we've talked about it before. You go in, you go, we'll build your school, build your highway, we'll build your whatever you want, and $0 down. Here's your loan. Sign here. We got you. Everybody signs, and then they go, hey, you've defaulted, which everyone knew you were going to default from day one. And it's like, what do you got for me? Like, oh, you can have the port, I guess. You go, yeah, we'll take the port. And so suddenly, now you got China controlling ports, they're controlling mines, they have all these things, just in the name of expanding influence. So, China clearly has a policy. Well, in addition to all that, right? Their team, like they have a hacking squad that's phenomenal. They're currently in the Pentagon. They've been in the Pentagon for an unknown amount of time in an unknown extent. We know that they have all the personnel files of active duty and retired, all of them. And we think maybe that's it, but we don't know. And like we know about, I think about the active duty and retired folks because I'm pretty sure they bragged about it, which means if they hadn't, would we have known?
Yeah, that goes against one of their rules.
Well, yeah.
Unless it was a distractor.
Right. Think about,
Jesus.
yeah, chase your tail over here. And we're just going to slowly sit on the secure side of the network and never tell a soul. We'll just watch. Just packet sniff. Just grab it, send it. Do it in neat ways, you know. All the Chinese crane companies that keep putting cranes up near military bases, and they have communications equipment on them that aren't in the specs and aren't in the manufacturing and stuff. It's like, wait a second, this has a cell signal that's sending and receiving data? It's like, that's interesting, and it's just hanging out above a military base. You know, we're just there's just too many different directions they go, you know? So when you have China that is slowly trying to spread not just their influence, but their grip, you know? Because if you can control the communications backbone, if you can control the power, the energy backbone, like
That's all you need.
I mean, yeah, really, what else do you need? You can't communicate and there's no power. And then you go, also, you don't get medicine. You know? And then also, every time you try to shoot a missile, we just have it turn around and hit you in the face. You know? And you go, we need new missiles. Like, good luck. Good luck. They don't even, I mean, all they have to do is Iron Dome, just wait for us for a while. We go, we need to manufacture more. You go, we can't. But, you know, they all just fizzle out. So, all that to say, and, you know, this could be giving the administration too much credit. And I'm not saying this is the way to go, but, all right, so if you're looking at all of these variables, right, and you look at us in a position of trying to not be defeated, however that looks, you know, to not be, whether it's actually defeated in a, you know, we own your nation kind of way, or if it's just a subjugated, you know, we own you, you're not important, and, you know, you do things the way we say you do now just because we're the power, and this is the right thing to do. Don't speak up, you know? Like an international law sort of subjugation as opposed to an actual conquering. But, you know, you go, this country has been making these moves, and they're ahead of us in these ways. And how do you counter that in a way that doesn't just say, without going, screw you, China, we're at war with you, and we're going to get going?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's impossible.
You can't be like if they've secretly, I mean, they've been secretly doing this. How do you secretly do it back without them like, hey, what are you doing? Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's one of those things like it's not going to fool anybody, but as silly as like some of the arguments for like bringing, like, oh, we got to bring manufacturing back. Why? And, we talked about it one time where we're like, you bring it back, it's going to be way too expensive anyway. Unless it's robots. Robots will keep it cheap. And then something that makes it work, Like, robots will be helping to make NVIDIA chips to power robots to make NVIDIA chips. Like it'll be a hell of a factory. And so you go, well, how does that help the working man? And you go, maybe this manufacturing base being brought back to America has nothing to do with the blue-collar guy that used to work the line. It'd be nice if it did. It doesn't. We're past that. Like, we have 3D printers and robots and AI. Like, we're past it. Like, I'm sorry, Like, I wish we weren't. And I'm not saying learn to code. But it's just, like, if you think that, like, these mill towns, on the Ohio River are going to suddenly pop back up. We got a steel mill again. We're going to work it the way we used to. Everyone's got a job and healthcare and all that. That ain't happening. What's going to happen is some multinational corporations are going to build really awesome manufacturing plants that's going to be largely powered by robots, with some highly skilled people brought in there, helping to, executive management, and then higher paid humans to manage the floor, but they're not going to be necessarily turning wrenches, maybe here and there. They need to have a knowledge of the machine if something locks up, but like, it's not going to be the Carhartt t-shirt. It's going to be the button-up collar shirt, And so like, but maybe the idea never was that. Maybe, they never, and maybe they do say it. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to everything they said, but the MAGA hopeful manufacturing back. It'll get the spirit of the worker back engaged and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know that when Trump has said bringing the manufacturing back to America, that he's ever said a word about the blue collar factory guy.
I just don't know how you can. Kelly and I were chatting about it the other day. We were at a restaurant and waitress comes up, just asks us what we want, doesn't introduce herself, doesn't do nothing. And I'm like, how can you complain about robots taking your job if you're going to act like a robot already?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. So I just don't, if we've lost the will to work, why are we complaining about a robot taking our job?
Man, the current generation of fast food workers, I don't eat a lot of fast food, but when I have gone through, like, they're horrible, minus Chick-fil-A. I don't know how they do it, but why are they always so polite? But everyone else was like, huh? Like, they barely say anything to you, like, like, they barely say words. And, like, it's one of those things I go, I can't wait till you're replaced. Like, to not, like, the McDonald's screens that you get to touch, I always go to those because, like, I don't want to talk to that idiot. Like, and you see them at, like, rest stops, too, for Wendy's and everybody else. It's like, no, I'd rather order through the screen. The screen isn't illiterate. I know it to be true. It's a computer. I tap it. Gives me all sorts of options. I tap those. And it tends to work out fine. The next step is just eliminating y'all from the kitchen. It's barely food to begin with. We don't need people involved in this. It's frozen fries, fried, dumped out. Like this could have been a factory line in the 60s. Like, we don't need any of you. And y'all don't want to be there. Like, none of them want to be there. And then, then the internet, these accounts I was talking about, post these videos of people wilding out, throwing a riot, doing a riot in a Waffle House.
Waffle House.
Oh, yeah, God. It's always a Waffle House. I mean, come on. If you're going to be open all night, it's going to get a little rowdy. I saw a video today. This poor guy. He had already paid his money. He just wanted his breakfast. But some Waffle House employee and some guests were getting into it. And there was like 2 employees and 2 guests. And then all of a sudden, there's just this kind of melee breaking out. And like people finally leave. People are dispersed. He's got blood on his arm. Not his. And he's like, hey, I did pay already. I do want my food.
Well, my smothered, my smothered hash
I want my
brown.
Grand Slam. That was Denny's, but whatever. Not Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity. I used to be my jam at the IHOP. And I outgrew it one day and went, I need more food than this. But anyway, yeah. So I think, perhaps the mega influencers, the news media, and these types have really kind of projected this idea of the American working man, getting back to it. That's why you bring manufacturing back, is for the working man. I think it's actually about national defense. And I do think it's totally necessary. Like we cannot have all of our chips manufactured essentially in China. Like in an economics way, of course you can, right? In the free market where you don't go to war with a trade partner. And this is where I think so. So the libertarian ideals are correct, right? But anytime that you present yourself limitations on how you respond, a bad actor will attempt to manipulate those, right? So if China is just somebody that just wants to participate in the economy, it makes total sense for them to have fewer regulations about environment. You make the chips. You have cheap labor. Of course, it's slave labor. But let's pretend it's not for a minute. You go, your people are happy to work for $1 a week. And so you go, okay, you do that, we'll do this, everything's good, But we have China that goes, okay, so the rules of the game are the free market, right? We're trying to cut costs anywhere we can. So you go, okay, our costs are pretty close to zero. Do you want to do manufacturing over here? And everyone goes, yep, that sounds great. I go, okay, come on over. And then we go, this will be fine. And then we'll be a trade partner. We'll do nice things here. We'll do moderate things all over the place, But at some point, if all their intentions are actually bad intentions and they're trying to drag you into a trap, you have to at least look up, go, Star Wars, it's a trap. But you got to look up, go, it's a trap, and go, okay, we have to stop walking in that direction. Like China this is not a scandalous thing to say. They're a totalitarian, fascistic country, They may have been mass sterilizing Uyghur Muslims. They have very much slave labor across the board. They run mines in Africa that essentially slave labor runs mining things barefoot with babies on their back. It's not good, is what I'm saying. It's not good. And so, like, when everyone's not an equal participant, you can't yes, it would be perfect if we were all totally free market, free flow of goods, cash, people, all that kind of stuff. That is ideal. That is how it lifts up the most people out of poverty. That is global peace, almost no government. You do that, like everyone's the happiest on the earth. Of course, we have despots, and so my thought process in chewing on this, and this may have been meandering, I don't know, is just that we have been welcoming China, to leave the Mao Zedong People's Revolution into like the Richard Nixon, hey, come into the economy, like you can just be one of us. Like look what happened with Japan. Like we dropped a couple of nukes on them, and now we're basically chums. And like with Japan, with Korea, two places that we had some issues with, they are thriving, and they're in the global market. They are not attempting to, conquer people. They're just like, hey, wouldn't it be great to be rich and awesome? And we went, yeah. And they went, yeah. And then we high-fived, and things are good. China's not like that. China is like, yeah, rich and awesome's cool, but also the one power, And America's like that as well, and Russia to a degree as well. I think they know they're behind. But it's one of those things, like, I think I'm not a fan of tariffs. Tariffs are taxes on the end user. Tariffing China is actually taxing people that shop at Walmart and a number of other places. Like, the end user will pay that tax, not China. To a certain degree, in the way that China manipulates their money, you go, well, you should give them as much business as possible, because every sale they do actually weakens their economy and hurts them as a country, which is, kind of proving to be true, because it's like, if you manipulate your currency, make it worth nothing, you're not gonna be able to pay your people, and they're not able to, and you can't finish these, all these ghost cities that pop up in China. It's like, this is what happens. You're teetering on the brink of collapse. But the problem is, that doesn't work when they hold the cards that they can shut off our power at any time. They can shut off our weapons at any time. They can shut off our flow of medicine at any time. Suddenly you go, well, we went from holding all the cards because you're trying to win this thing through government centralization, which does not work, to being like, oh, well, you actually have 3 pretty damn good cards, at least. And we have to counter that. And so I think, doing this tariff thing, which the unfortunate thing about Trump calling it off, a little pause, is I go, well, I've been thinking about this a lot. Maybe this isn't at all what Trump's been thinking, because, like, why pause it? You just go, all right, well, let's talk, But I don't know. I would, if you can get the chip manufacturing actually moved abroad, I mean, not abroad, but moved, here, that could be enough. I mean, that could be enough to avoid a giant disaster or having to go to a very hot war to avoid disaster, So I'm wondering if, because, when you go, all right, we're going to do a 30% on those people over there. And then, this much on China. They go, well, we're going to hit you with 30. They go, we're going to hit you 145%. You go, well, this can't just be about trade, Maybe this is reading tea leaves. I don't know. This is just my thoughts. Give me some of your thoughts over this ranting day.
I have no idea. The pause is absolutely confusing to me. I'm trying to figure out what the real reason is, because we're basically back to why did we even bother? What was the goal of stirring the pot, so to speak?
And the purported goal is that, so many different countries, there's tariffs, but then there's like non-tariff trade barriers where they go, well, your country can't actually send stuff here, or value-added taxes where they go, okay, well, there's different taxes on these products than these products on top of tariffs. And you go, okay, well, these are all just taxes on the product, punishing the source being American, And so the purported reason was like, let's get on even footing with everybody. But you'll never get on even footing with China because they have slaves. They're fine with subjugating their entire population into slavehood, and they will kill as many as they want to. So you'll never really be on even footing. The pause, it could be in that whole don't let your enemies, know what you're up to kind of thing. You go, okay, this is about trade. They go, oh, we can work out trade. You go, okay, let's work out trade. But the question is where it goes from here. Because if Trump comes up with some sort of trade deal that lowers barriers to entry to some number for China, blah, blah, blah. And then the semiconductor company does not build in the United States, and we do not increase like drug manufacturing stateside, if we don't, do some of these key things, then who cares?
Right.
Because things are fine. Things are fine, as it were. Like did China manipulate the media and education and, all these different branches? Yeah. Yeah. And did we enjoy getting cheap goods from China? Sure did. But things are fine, other than them slowly conquering us, But I don't know. It's kind of this thing I've been chewing on because it's just the realities on the ground is that China's not a neutral party. Not that we don't need to go to a hot war with them, but they have structured their growth in a way to be detrimental to us at any point that they so choose, buying debt, controlling our power, etc. And so we do need to take real steps to get out of that. Like they own us. We have to get out of that. We have to get rid of the national debts. They don't seem to be caring about that so much at all. Even, Doge does its thing and Congress just goes, we'll spend the money anyway. But I don't know. As a commander in chief, I do think you have a responsibility to address these things. And I don't think you can't just order industry to build stuff. So how do you do it? I think I'll give you low tax rates, build your stuff here. It'll be super cheap. I'll make it as cheap as possible. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to bring industries and investments over in the name of offsetting China's lead on us. Or he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's just doing stuff at random, and I'm reading tea leaves, and I'm incorrect.
It can't be random.
I hope it's not random. I just hope.
But China also, we're a global superpower that China's obviously trying to deflate slowly.
Sure.
But all other countries probably bought from China too, so China controls the world.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The 5G networks that they've built in like Germany and anywhere they've built, you go, yeah, okay, well, all that communication is secure. Like it's one of those things.
We blatantly occupy. They do it secretively.
They go, hey, you want us to spend all the money to build you some awesome infrastructure? And everyone goes, yeah. Like, what's the catch? They go, no catch. You go, no catch? Great. Then later they go, okay, there was a catch. Whatever. So I don't know. That's as I've been sitting there just reading about different aspects of our country and China and things that have popped up in the past few years that have shown China's not just capabilities, but what they're actively doing. I started looking at the Chinese specific tariffs in a different way. We'll see. I could be hopeful that there's such thought. Maybe this thing is just that Trump has some sort of ironclad agreement that the chips and these other things are by God going to happen in America. And he goes, okay, well, now that I've gotten that part handled, we can talk about T-shirts and, Alibaba and stuff again.
Yeah, maybe it was a singular small goal and he's attained it.
Yeah, the chips is the most important part, All right, I think that'll do it for this week. You got anything to leave the people with, Charlie?
The people of China?
The People's Republic of Charlie?
No, I don't. Now I won't sleep tonight, so.
You're welcome. Sweet dreams.